Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, and in today's video I'm going to be starting an extra little series with the build up to Armageddon to help people with Space Marines once again. I'm always trying to help people paint Space Marines, and sometimes it's not the easiest thing to follow along with some videos. Techniques change and it's very hard to film such a small miniature. So what I've actually decided to do is like I said, a mini series, and I'm going to do it for a couple of the main chapters, Blood Angels, Ultramarines, Imperial Fists, Dark Angels, that kind of thing. And then do a dedicated video for each where I paint up 3 of these, which are nice little Space Marine busts that are obviously much larger than a standard 28mm, 32mm miniature. So it's going to show up on camera a lot better. And hopefully I'll go into a little bit better detail on how to paint it up. Why am I doing 3 of each? Well, I'm going to do like a dust base coat and washed as quick as possible to get paint on this model and get it on the tabletop for tournaments and stuff like that. And then I'm going to do a mid-tier where it's all layered up nice and clean and crisp. And then I'm going to do kind of like tabletop plus, where I add all the edge highlighting and extra WAS and stuff like that. So you'll get 3 different versions of how to paint the miniature. And the best thing about it is it steps on from each other. So you can start by painting the model like, very quickly. And then in a couple of weeks time, if you find some extra time, you can paint them up to the next level. And then in a couple of weeks time, you want to push a few models, characters even further, you can push them to that 3rd step. They all link in with each other. So I think it's going to be super helpful. Before I get into the video though, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone that continues to support the channel by liking the videos, watching the videos, dropping comments and subscribing. Those 3 things are absolutely incredible. They make a huge difference to how many people see the videos and how quickly the channel grows. So please do hit that subscribe button. And then everyone out there who goes the extra mile and supports over on Patreon, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. Obviously, there's a whole host of different reasons to be involved in the Patreon. We do monthly giveaways. This month we are giving away this mechanical box set. So if you want to be with a chance of winning that, all you need to do is be signed up to the Patreon at any tier. And to go alongside that, we have, of course, our private Discord server. We've got extra videos. We've got access to podcasts and stuff like that. So if all that sounds interesting, please check it out below. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in and start painting up some Blood Angels. Okay, so these are the busts that I 3D printed. I actually knocked them down to about 40% the original size because they were supposed to be much larger. But I think they're the perfect size to showcase painting with. So I'm going to give them a try. Do let me know in the comments if you think this is an easier way of showing how to paint armor as opposed to being on an actual smaller miniature. My kind of hands kind of, you know what I mean? It takes up most of the screen. It's a little bit more kind of annoying, I think. So the way I'm doing this is all the models have been sprayed black and then they've been sprayed gray sear. I do this technique all the time. I find it to be the best base coat to work up from with your contrasts. And that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start by contrasting in all the different details and parts on this piece. So the first thing we did grab is a Blood Angels red contrast, and we attacked the armor, trying to get a nice smooth coat of red across this entire piece. Now, like I said, I'm just going to show you guys 3 different ways to paint this. If you know that you're going to take it past the first stage, then you can be a little bit more kind of haphazard applying the Blood Angel red contrast now. If you know you just want to do a really quick army, you just want to get this off your pile of shame, you just want to play with Blood Angels next week and you don't really want to care about, painting them really, really nice, you just want to get a nice solid coat of paint on them, then take a little bit more time at this stage and make sure there's no brush strokes. Make sure there's no pooling anywhere and try and get as smooth of a coat of red as you possibly can on this piece. And as you can see, as I'm painting it, I'm being careful not to hit any of the other details because obviously we want to contrast over those bits as well. And if there's an undertone of red on loads of the parts, then it's going to change how they look. And it's going to be a little bit more awkward. Now, another point, like I said in the beginning of this video, every single one of these pieces will start the same. So as I put the red on this one, I put the same red on the other 2. As I put the black on this one, I put the black on the other 2. So I love the idea of it being a continuous system. So you could paint up a Blood Angels army using this technique right now. Do step 1, play a couple games with it, really fall in love with Blood Angels, and in 2 years time be like, you know what, I want to take it to the next level. And then you can literally just pick the army up as it is and take it to the next step. You don't have to strip them, you don't have to start again, you have to buy new models. It's just a continuous process, which I think is quite smart, and I think that's going to be quite useful for a lot of people. Because I know for me, there's a lot of things on my backlog that I would like to be painted, but I know I don't have the time to get them all painted. There's definitely a part of me that just wants to get a certain few collections and just go, I'm just going to get base coats and washes on these guys and get them based. Therefore, I can get them on the table without feeling any guilt, play some games with them, enjoy them, and then I'll add some more detail to them later on. So hopefully that does help some people. As you can see, I'm in on the Black Templar stage now, and obviously I've gone for the soft seals. That would be like armor joints and, you know, elbows and knees and stuff. Obviously, soft bits around his waist. And his chest eagle is also done in black. I like putting a black trim on Blood Angel's power armor. A lot of the time, traditionally, they have just red, completely red shoulder pads. But I do like breaking it up a little bit with that black trim. I don't think it makes it look any less like a Blood Angel, but, you know, each to their own. If you don't want to do that black shoulder pad, just that first coat of red we do apply it over that section as well. Retributor Armor Gold was then brought in for any gold details you have on the model. This particular example has a big golden shoulder pad, but if this was a veteran, this would be over his helmet. If he was having a power sword, it would be the hilt and pommel that would be this color. You know, on those medals that they could have, purity seals might have some gold, so just go through with that. Lead Belcher was then introduced for all of the metallic silver stages. So obviously on the Primaris Marine backpacks, there's quite a lot of it that's silver. Obviously he has the handle of his bolt pistol that's in his waistband. And if he was holding a bolter, there'd be sections like that, a chainsword, the teeth, all those sections. So make sure you block those all in with the Lead Belcher. After this, we're just going to grab a pot of wildwood and we're going to get to work on all of the webbing stuff. So these guys have belts, they have lots of pouches for their grenades and, you know, extra clips for their pistols. Obviously the holster for the pistol as well. So any details like that any of your Marines have, you're going to block in with wildwood to get yourself started. And then with this, we have all of our base coats on. So it's time to shade the model down. And for me, I'm just going in with Nuln Oil and I'm going to go for a solid coat from top to bottom across this miniature. Like I said before, if you're going to leave this guy at this stage, then make sure that the Nuln Oil doesn't pool badly. Make sure it doesn't, you know, drip down anywhere. There's brush strokes in it. Just take your time. People think that you can apply contrast and shade really, really fast, but you can't. You need to take your time with it. Make sure you get in all the nooks and crannies. And when it's fully dry, you're left with this. And this is the result of stage 1. You could paint up a Blood Angels army in a day or two up to this standard. 50 Marines, tanks, dreadnoughts, the whole shabam up looking like this. And it would look a hell of a lot better than an army that was just built and put on the table as grey plastic. If somebody deployed an army like this on the opposite side to me, I would think fair play, they put some effort in, they have paint on their models and they look great. And like I said, I've taken all 3 of these up to this exact same stage. And now it's time to take up the next 2 up to the next stage, that middle layer of painting. Okay, to take it up to step 2, the first thing you grab is a Mephiston red base and we are going to layer up that power armor and make it pop. This does generally require probably 2 thin coats to get a nice smooth red. Now, we are not trying to get full coverage. That would defeat the purpose of doing the contrast and the shade. We want to leave all of that dark shaded red in all the recesses and all the crevices and any of the gaps in the armor. Anything like that you want to leave nice and dark. And I will try and show this as much as possible with this example. So for instance, you take the chest arm, you can see that there is 2 sections of it. There's the kind of higher up panel that I'm painting now, and then it drops down to another panel. And you can see that I leave the gap between both nice and dark. You can see those kind of ab panels. You can see the dark line between them both. Those side exhaust vents, I'm carefully painting around them. I don't want to fill them in with this bright red. We're going to leave that nice and dark. Going up into this little bit on the top of the chest, you can see that I'm leaving basically a rim of black around the entire thing. So on top of the Aquila, below that kind of gorget piece. And then of course, when you're doing the helmet, it's really important to do that as well. The helmet, if you actually take a second to look at it, you can see it's broken apart into a bunch of different sections, like the Mohawk section, then the kind of flat dome panel beneath that, then like the nose armor, the ear bits. So you want to leave that nice dark color between all of those panels. We're going to make that black pop a little bit more now with some Corvus black. So I'm going to layer it up around the shoulder pad, which will of course neaten everything up. And then we are going to very carefully go in and layer up the chest Aquila that is on his torso, obviously. Going in with each individual feather, and obviously the heads and stuff like that. And just adding a small highlight. You don't have to go crazy, and you're not looking for like laser sharp lines. If one line on one feather is a little bit thicker and another one's a little bit smaller, sometimes as you're doing that, that can really annoy you and you think you're making a mess of it. But if you just continue the process and one's a little bit off and one's a little bit, eventually it balances itself out. When you look at the chest piece as a whole at the end, it looks really good. Liberator Gold was then brought in to highlight any of the gold sections. Like I said, I spent a little bit more time on this gold shoulder pad. Most Marines won't have a shoulder pad like this. This guy's just pretty special. So I'm going in with Liberator Gold to highlight that. Normally, like I said, this would just be the hilt and pommel of a power sword or a combat knife or something like that if you wanted to add a little bit of bling to the model. Or if you're doing Blood Angel Veterans, so your Vanguard, your Stern Guard, all those guys will have gold helmets, and you'll follow this exact recipe. The Retributor armor shaded down with black and then layered up with the Liberator gold. Catachan flesh was used as the mid-tone for the webbing and pouches and stuff. And just like the red armor panels, you can see where obviously all the pouches are in two different sections, like the bit that opens and then the bit that the item sits in. So make sure you're leaving those dark lines between those two sections, and it's going to look great. And here we have it. This is the finished stage 2. As you can see, it's much neater. It's much more, I don't know, like smooth. It looks great. It's really tidy. Obviously, it took a fair bit more time than this one, but the results speak for themselves. You can see that this is a really pleasing and aesthetically pleasing piece. And this is generally where my level finishes. This is where I like to take an army to. I'll do things like transfers and paint the eyes, but other than that, that would be the end for me. It's only when I really love a project like my Imperial Fists that I go above and beyond and I take it to this stage, which is adding in all the crazy extra detail like edge highlighting. So with edge highlighting, we've jumped up to Wild Rider Red. And as you can see, I'm going around all the sharp panels, all the edges across the entire piece, and I'm adding a thin line of paint around that. Now this, just like when I talked about the chest Aquila a minute ago with layering of the black, I'm telling you, you get freaked out when you start doing it. You'll start on the first panel and you'll start your first line, and you know, the width of it and the shape, like the sharpness of it from the top of the stroke to the bottom stroke will be slightly different. That will freak you out and make you think that you're doing a really bad job. You're not. Do not worry. The effect is not sold on, you know, one brush stroke. The effect is sold when it's on all the different edges and you take a step back and look at the piece, and then it looks great. So please just follow through. If you want to jump to this extra step and make them look really nice, stick with it, do all the edges, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed by the final result. The more you do it, the faster you get, and obviously the sharper your paintbrush will get. So don't be too hard on yourself if the first couple of guys are not exactly the way you want them. It will pay off. Now, the surprising extra paint that we use now, which is actually taken from the Envy Metal team, is the actual tiny last highlight we do is Tau Light Ochre, which I never would have thought of in a million years. My like color theory brain still quite doesn't understand why, but a tiny touch of Tau Light Ochre, like 5 to 10% of the edges of the armor are done with a touch of this, and it really does make that power armor pop. It looks absolutely stellar, and it gives you a really nice result at the end. Like I said, this is the beginning of a series for me, so please do let me know in the comments if you like this concept and you want me to see me continuing this. Like I said, I think I'm planning to do Ultramarines next, just because it's obviously going to be a fan favorite. But if there's a specific chapter you think would benefit from a video like this, where I do 3 busts, and you know, I do the most basic, the kind of middle, and then the high-end stuff at the end, please do not hesitate to let me know which one you think that should be in the comments below. And please don't pick super obscure chapters. I know it would help you out a little bit if you wanted me to do that, like that crazy chapter, but the video has to get views as well, people. So if it's like, oh, I'd love to see Dark Angels, or I'd love to see, you know, Mantis Warriors, that's some I could probably get behind, but there's some weird ones out there. Okay, a tiny touch of Dawnstone is now used to highlight the black up a little bit more. And as you can see, I'm really going just to the very ends of the feathers and just adding a tiny little brush stroke in, and then obviously highlighting across the top, the little skull motif in the middle, and then a thin line of paint down one side of the shoulder pad trim will sell that nice black armor, even though it's really deep and it's got loads of different colors in it, and it just looks really, really nice and clean. We're not going to be adding any more to the gold. That Retributor armor is perfect for a finish for me. I don't need to do a third stage on that. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, the eye lenses are Warboss Green, Moot Green, White Scar, and Ardcoat. That first paint, that Warboss Green, is only because I don't have any Warp Lightning left. Warp Lightning is what you should be using. So, yeah, I'm sorry I don't have any. But it doesn't really matter. The first coat of green is really just to do like an 80% coverage of the eye lenses. You want the eye lenses to be mostly green, but around the edges of all of them to still show that nice black showing through. And then inside the green paint that you've already done, you want to add a touch of Moot Green in a little slit. So you're filling in maybe, I don't know, 40% of the green you've already done with just a nice little brush stroke. And that will sell the look of glowing armor already. It looks already, the eye lenses make the armor pop and it looks fantastic. To sell the effect even more, you just have two tiny little steps. The white is brought in and you just put it up, a little dot of white in the kind of top corner of the eye. Just a tiny dot, done. Do that on both sides. It just sells a tiny bit of like kind of lens glare or whatever. It's magic. That little white dot is magic to finish it off. And then we just throw in a tiny bit of ard coat to make those eye lenses glow. And that's the eyes done on your Blood Angel Marine. You can already see that this last one is looking fantastic. You'd swear I'd spent hours and hours painting him, and I didn't. The Catachan flesh, which was that mid-tone for the leather, all I did was add a little bit of more gas bone into that. And just added a very small edge highlight to those panels and pouches as well. Just to once again make them stand out, make them look like I put as much effort into those as I did for the rest of it. And then of course, all of the pieces got a nice transfer or two to finish them off. This is the final result, a kind of masterclass, if you will, on how to paint Blood Angels armor. I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings. If you would paint Blood Angels following this video, what stage would you take them up to? And which do you think is the most effective? Here's the middle one and the finished one, and then obviously we'll bring in the first one as well. So it is very much a broad spectrum of painting skill and technique, and I think you guys can do it if you put your minds to it. So let me know who's painting Blood Angels for Armageddon. And yeah, really hope you found this video useful, and you're looking forward to more of them in the near future. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one.